Organisation Human Rights Watch says a pipeline that's planned to be built in East Africa would have a huge impact on people, particularly in Uganda. The pipeline would transport oil through a large part of that country. Felix Horne is a senior researcher in the Environmental Division at Human Rights Watch. Felix, good afternoon to you. This pipeline, I presume, could be good for the economy of this region. What impact would it have on the environment and on the people living there?
What we're seeing so far is the land is being acquired for the pipeline. About 100,000 people that rely on the land for their livelihoods are going to lose that for the pipeline. And about 90% of that compensation has already been paid by Total Energies, which is the main company involved, is the operator of this project. And what people are telling us, those that have been displaced from their land, is that the compensation they have been given is not adequate to buy replacement land. So that means they're having trouble putting food on their tables, they're having trouble paying school fees, they're having lots of difficulties. So there's quite a lot of frustration from people on the ground. And then going forward, of course, the environmental risks are massive for this project. There's a 1,400-kilometer pipeline that goes through some of East Africa's most sensitive ecosystems, national parks, wetlands. So lots of concerns about what the future human rights risks could be of the damage to the water, to the soil, and to the forests that so many communities rely upon.
So the people who you say, some of them, they've been given compensation, but that's not enough to make good and to provide them with a livelihood. Were they not able to say no? Were they not able to resist Total?
Well, this is one of the concerns. So no, they were not able to say no. I mean, a lot of these farmers are rural, they're very poor, a number of them are illiterate. And what they told us is they felt threatened, they felt pressured in the various meetings with Total and the representatives to sign documents. The documents were always in English. Some said they got them translated, but quite often people were like, no, we don't know what we signed. And there were people in interviews asking me, like, what does this form say? Like, what did I sign? What did I agree to? So no, there definitely was no ability to say no. Those that did push back a little bit and tried to say no, they told us that often they were told by company representatives that if they don't voluntarily give up the land, the courts would take it. And under Ugandan law, there is an expropriation process for projects like this. And there are a few that went through that process, and yes, their land was taken, money was deposited in their accounts. So there was no option to say no to this.
And the Ugandan government, do they back the pipeline? Are they allowing this to happen to their people?
The Ugandan government very much backs the pipeline. Museveni is a big supporter of the pipeline, largely because of the perceived economic benefits, which is understandable. On the other hand, Uganda has a massive clean energy potential. Hydropower, solar power. It could be the clean energy superpower of East and Central Africa if it built that out instead of this dirty, polluting, human rights harming fossil fuels, which has a very uncertain future, as we know, because of the lack of support increasingly for fossil fuel development around the world.
Who's financing this? I mean, you're going to build a pipeline. Total sure will have a lot of capital itself. It makes a lot of money. But it will also need to borrow money from someone to build this pipeline, won't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and this is one of the concerns that has constantly been raised, is that financial institutions are very wary of funding this. There have been a lot of civil society movements around the world, in France, in Uganda, South Africa, pressuring financial institutions not to pressure this. It's a disaster for the planet. It's a disaster so far for local people. So about 60% of the pipeline is yet to be funded. So this is one of our strong messages. Financial institutions who are wanting to be moving forward in tackling climate change need to be not supporting heavily polluting projects like this. Standard, based in South Africa, is one of the financial advisors for this project. It is critical that they do not support this project. Without the financing, the project will not happen.
There's a lot going on here. I mean, there's a whole process of moving away from fossil fuels. I can see an argument still for fossil fuels. I'm not necessarily saying I agree with it one way or another, but I can see the argument, and particularly in certain parts of our continent, we know economically that cheaper energy is the only free lunch there is in economics. It really can give you a huge economic boost. But I would imagine this doesn't go on forever. Could it just be the wrong time to build an oil pipeline?
Well, that's it. I mean, the numbers that come out from Total are about this pipeline is being built for 25 years. And the hope is in 25 years there will be no appetite for fossil fuels. The climate change is already impacting large parts of the continent, including Uganda, and climate change is caused primarily by the burning of fossil fuels. So there's no doubt that Uganda needs energy. I mean, no one's going to dispute that. But building out fossil fuels at this point in time, when the world scientists, the IPCC, the International Energy Agency all agree there is no more space for fossil fuel projects if we're going to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. So 100% yes to increased access to energy, but that doesn't need to be fossil fuels. There's lots of clean energy potential.
Thanks very much indeed. Really do appreciate the time today. Felix Horne is a senior researcher for the environmental program at Human Rights Watch. Interesting stories there.